Welcome back. We're still going through Philippians chapter 1, verses 12 through 18. See Paul letting everybody know that circumstances do not define us, but the circumstances we find ourselves in are ultimately used to glorify God. So let's get into it. Verse 12, when I read that, I reflected back to the story of Joseph, where he was sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused of rape, put in prison, left there, only to be remembered decades later when God needed him. God used him to save his family from ultimate starvation. His brothers are they're scared because he's now in power, and he says, "Don't worry, God meant it for good." That's what we see in verses 12. Paul is reminding us that the bad things that happen to us, God's using them for the good of his glory. So we just need to keep that in mind as we go through these circumstances that we think are negative. Let's look at verse 13. Paul is in prison, and he sees the good thing about this is that the prison guards can't go anywhere. So he has a captive audience in that he can tell the prison guards about Jesus Christ, and they have no option but to listen to him. So God is using, again, Paul's circumstance of being in prison as a means to give him an audience that would not necessarily hear of the love of Christ and the saving grace of Christ. Verse 14 is probably one of the most encouraging verses in the entire chapter. Paul is showing his joy in that the other Christians, his brothers and sisters in Christ, are not shrinking back. They're not running and hiding because Paul has been put in prison. In fact, the exact opposite is true. They have been given bolder faith to proclaim Christ even more. So we need to think about that also when our other Christian brothers and sisters see us going through afflictions and see us going through hard times, and they watch how we handle it. That may be enough to give them strength to be more bold in their faith. In the situation in verse 15 and 16, we see that some people in Paul's day, the people were mocking him. They were talking about, "Oh, look at Paul, I preach Christ," and Paul's going, "It doesn't matter whether they're mocking me or not. Christ is still being glorified." And that's the beauty of it. Even today, is that people that are preaching Christ, even with wrong motives, are still glorifying Christ. Paul closes out verse 18 simply reminding us that in every circumstance we're in, the reason we're going through it is so that Christ is glorified. So we just need to keep that in mind, that the things we go through for a reason. The reason is so that God can be shown as the one true God, the God of love, grace, mercy, justice, and that he is glorified in everything that we do.